I cannot believe we are in our final chapter. This is it. In some ways, it seems like we just started telling this story, and then in other ways, it seems like, oh my gosh, this has drug on forever.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. Definitely. Yeah. Oh, it is. It's like, you're like, yay, we're here. And you're like, finally.
I know. Oh.
And then in other ways, it seemed like we would never get here because telling the story so like section by section, I was like, we are never going to get here. This thing is never going to, it's never going to end.
Yeah. So if you are just finding us, like, we are on chapter 7. So we don't want you to feel like you have to go back and like, we want you to listen to all the episodes. We do, because like there's some good ones in there.
Well,
but don't feel like you have to go and like catch up in order to listen to chapter 7. Like, just jump right in. To kind of give you a quick like catch up. Tom and Charlotte, head pastor's wife, started this church. He has no formal training. He just decided, I'm going to be a pastor, and got his little license to be a pastor. And his narcissism has led him to believe that Come As You Are church is the end all be all, and he is right and everyone else is wrong, and there is no challenging him. That's pretty much the gist of Tom in a nutshell. There's more to it than that. Melissa was married to Tom's son. He is equally, I would dare to say, if not more dangerous.
Yes.
Than Tom, just because he lacks the self-control aspect that Tom most of the time can exhibit. And he is abusive, and we are headed into this final season. Everything has changed after COVID. So that's your little quick catch up. But we thought it would be kind of cool, because if you have been listening for any length of time, you might have noticed like our stance. I guess not really our stance, but just kind of like where we are in our faith journeys and kind of how we view church and things like that have shifted over the course of this podcast. Most notably, if you go back and you listen to previous episodes, like in the beginning, our intro says, we are two women who walk this journey to find, Jesus in the end. And now our main purpose of this, our intro says, we're two women on this journey and find healing in the end.
Yeah.
And so we just thought it'd be kind of a cool thing to check in and,
Yeah, because like in what ways, I don't know, because like, ending a chapter, starting a new chapter, and we do this in real time. We're telling a story that happened, 4.5 so many years ago, and that lasted for you much longer than me, but like that was years and years of our lives in this toxic church culture. And, we've been doing this now for a couple years, 1.5 years or whatever, recording this podcast. So we started out in a place knowing we wanted to do this, and we had obviously reached a place of healing to some level where we thought we could do this. Whatever crazy idea that was. So in what ways, have you stayed the same in views? Have you changed? I mean, like, that's kind of like where I was at in the, like, okay, we're going into the last chapter. How do I feel about that? Where am I at? Checking in, we've laughed and joked in episodes over the past 6 chapters of we'd be like, oh, gonna have to go to therapy for that.
Yep.
Like that uncovered something. So, and that's happened in real life too, where I've been like, I've just been sitting talking to people and I was like, yeah, I'm totally gonna have to go and dive down that rabbit hole and
Yeah.
figure out what that was. That's not what was that? Like it's always shocking, surprising. So yeah. So are you the same? Are you different? Are you where are you at going into the last chapter compared to the 6 chapters before?
Yeah. I think in the very beginning, for me personally, I still had, like this. I guess I was still wearing the rose tinted glasses um, for the church and for, just kind of my faith in general. And I think the biggest part, like when you deconstruct or you walk away from a high control religious organization, you feel so alone, and you feel like you've lost yourself. And so I think in the very beginning I was a little like hoping I would find that, like, that spark and in myself, and not so much. I feel like even before we started this podcast, I had started to rediscover myself, like who I am as a person, but I did miss that, like who I was, like church Amanda, like not the junk, not the toxicity, not the abuse, any of that, but that, like, being excited for something, and um being confident in what I believed, and being being open to, like, I guess, open to being a member of a church.
Yeah, but no, you just said like so interesting. You just said being confident in what I believe,
Yeah.
right? Who that person is, like because your whole world was shattered open,
Yeah.
and you're left so raw and so exposed and in such a place of unknowingness, like complete unknowingness, like everything
Yeah.
because your entire life from like 15 years old on was
Yeah.
wrapped up within this church culture and this church environment. Like that's I was at least like 30s, right? I think I was like 35.
Yeah.
I don't remember now. It's been
Yeah.
like, I mean, like,
You
I,
had an adult identity
yeah,
outside of Come As You Are. My
yeah,
entire adult identity was wrapped up in Come As You Are. and
yeah. But
and
I
so,
just don't
yeah.
know that I ever was able to put it into words before that that's really what it was like. Like, what do you lose? You lose that confidence in your belief system. Like, you are just like an amoeba of a person. Like,
Yeah.
how raw and naked and vulnerable and like just completely like an outer body experience that actually is. So yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I was like, wow, yeah, that's some insight.
Yeah. No, like I really, like, I guess I was like really like hopeful that, like, if I start talking about this stuff, then that feeling will come.
Yeah, then it'll come
You,
back. I can get some of that.
yeah, and I can get that spark, that, back again, and it hasn't. But honestly, I feel like I'm in a different place. Like, I'm okay that it hasn't come back. I think I was hoping for something that along the way doing this podcast, I've realized I don't necessarily need.
Right or
And
what?
yeah. And so I'm okay that it didn't come back.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for me is working through everything with Tom, and that, like, that relationship between him and I, where I kind of made him a father figure in my life because I was estranged from my dad for so long. And now in these, in the course of doing this podcast, I've reconnected with my dad, and now he has an illness, and he's entering the end of his life, and I feel like working through everything with Tom has, like, in kind of a very weird way, um helped me be able to work through my emotions in trying to rebuild a relationship with my dad while we know he has an expiration date. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it feels weird
Yeah.
to be like working like working through how awful Tom was has actually led to me and my own dad having a better relationship.
Yeah. Well, be honest, the whole thing is weird. Like, nobody should experience these things.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, outer body, and I'm not saying like out of body experience, but like you have this physical body that feels kind of like a protective shell a little bit. And if you could just imagine, like, there's like an amoeba part of you, and no,
Yeah.
this is not science. This is Melissa's metaphors here. Like, if you take away the hard candy shell, like, you have this soft, squishy person inside. And I mean, just imagine, like, and that's like really how you're left feeling after going through such a toxic situation, like we just talked about. And it is weird. And there's nothing necessarily like it other than, unfortunately, traumatic experiences and experiences where you've been harmed in ways. And so, yeah, and it is kind of hard to find, ways to communicate that to somebody who may or may not understand,
Yeah.
But I would piggyback off of that and just say, like, I agree with that 100%. Like, working through these things, you find that you're better able and better capable to now, in a very real way. And I say real way in the sense that you got to choose it. Like, you get to choose it now.
Yeah.
Like, you're no longer just a pawn in society's game or in culture's game or in church game, or like that. It's no longer all the things that you've been told your whole entire life of who you should be, what you should do, what you should believe. It's now the belief systems that you have cemented and the things that you're working on, the relationships that you're fixing, they feel more real because they feel like you got to choose it and you're actually making a conscious decision to do that.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, for me, like, yeah, like, now looking back, I don't know what made me think we could do this, but like, I am totally, I don't know, my daughter calls it like the how hard could it be gene, right? Where she's like, yeah, like, how hard could it be, right? Like, and we were laughing because I don't look at the things I do and like, that's not like my mantra. Oh, how hard could it be? I'm just going to go do it. Right. Like, that's not the wording, but I definitely have that attitude, like,
it's not the wording, but it's the vibe.
I definitely embody that vibe. But that's not the way I don't express it in those words. And so we were talking the other day because we were trying to do something together and she was like, this is not working. She's like, whose fault is it that I got the how hard could it be gene? And I'm like, I don't know. Whose fault is it? She goes, yours. And I'm like, I don't have that gene. She looked at me. She's like, yes, you do. And I'm like, no, I really don't identify with that statement. But like you just said, it's the vibe. So I do identify with the vibe of that. I'm going to have to figure out what the motto is that goes with it for me. But it's not, I'm like, I can do that, like whatever it is. But when I look back, I feel like such a young baby, like when we started this, like what business did we? I was like, the confidence in the level of healing, or the confidence in the level of that I was okay. I don't even know what the confidence was in, but the confidence that I had to say, yeah, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the most vulnerable points of our lives, and we're going to lay it out there for everyone. And no, just the pure like naiveness, is that the word of
well,
like
yeah, naive, because now I'm like, where did that confidence in what stupid mission? Like, really? Like, sometimes I'm like, what stupid fan soapbox that I think I was gonna get on to be like, I must speak out, because this has been it's been an adventure, and to get to this point now and be like, wow, I've come so far. Like, and to look back and see how my opinions, my views, my healing, my growth, my and before you started talking today, something I could not express, that I would have talked in circles for hours, of what you said. Like, that whole belief system, we just talked about that. It's like, slowly but surely, this confidence in who I am and the things that I'm doing, and not wanting to return somewhere, but now being like, wait, no, but what I have is better. What I have is, but it's not just new, shiny, like, oh, I like this because the grass is greener on the other side of the fence or anything. Truly, I have cautiously, attentively, with purpose, decided to choose the things that I am going to believe in, stand for, speak about, subscribe to, not subscribe to, allow within my world, become the person that I want to be, solely because I choose to be that, and not because of anybody else's input. And that's an amazing thing.
Yeah. And
that's different than any place I've ever been in my life, ever.
Yeah. And like you said, it's not because it's new and it's shiny and we're excited about it, but I think because we worked our asses off to get here. Yeah. Like we fought, we cried, we clawed to get to this point. And honestly, I am kind of glad that we entered this with that naive like optimism and just pure like ridiculous unmerited confidence, because I think had we, thinking back to you and I sitting in that hotel room at Podcast Movement and going through this and being like, are we going to do this? Is like, are we really going to do this? Had we known what we were going to go through in making this podcast, I don't know if we would have went forward with it, just in where we were back then.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that, like, oh no, we got like that, like, how hard can it be? We can talk about this.
Right. Yeah, there was some humility, I think, in going for, at least, like, the pursuit was,
yeah.
We did, and I will say we did a good job, and I feel like there's times that I have like pushed the boundaries, but that's part of who I am as a person. I'm a boundary pusher. And I've probably said things that I probably shouldn't have, or maybe it was a little too far. And I don't say this in like a, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that kind of way, because that's something that I want to talk about anyway. But like, and maybe you edited them out, so maybe listeners didn't hear, like, I don't know what's out there, but I will say 90% of it, I know that we did a good job holding to the standards that we set for ourselves, to say like, we're going to tell this story and put it out there, think of it what you will, whatever. I'm not trying to like persuade. It's not necessarily, this isn't a persuasive podcast. This is just a, hey, this is what happened to me. This is my story. This is my opinions on it. This is what I think about it. But at the end of the day, that's all it is. And I think we did good with that. But also like realizing, because I think the biggest place for me to be now is that I see very clearly how much I like try to always see the best in people. That's one thing. And so I I think back to episodes or things that I've said, and I say them multiple because I get stuck in like reels sometimes of that, where I'm like, I have a hard time believing that this was malicious, or like, because they just genuinely like have this desire to see the best in people. But that's a character trait of mine. But what I'm learning is that as much as I can say, well, that's just who I am as a person, I can now see when I go too far in that,
Yeah.
right? Like when I go into like, because there's things that are good, like boundaries are good, but you can always go too far and they could become hurtful and dangerous. And and I discovered more of, so that's my sense of like, that's how I people please. Like not everything I do or in any sort of way do I sit there and go like, oh yeah, I'm a people pleaser. But when I think about seeing the best in people, for me, that's how I people please when it becomes toxic. And then the other thing, so along with that, is then you have to realize like I've let a lot of people off the hook through this, in that sense of like, and you and I have talked about this, where we're like, this is it's bigger than just these people and this person and this church and a handful of people. And it's a big problem. And there's a lot of people who are speaking out against these things and saying this is not okay. And so it's easier to look at it as these things are allowed in our culture of church, so it's okay, and to let the individual off the hook who didn't wise up and say, no, I'm not going to act that way anymore. So, and especially knowing, like, because once you know better, you can do better. And there's so many things you and I have talked about that you and I didn't stand up for, like, even if it made us, we like squint our face and be like, what? Like, that's not okay. But then we go along with it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think the biggest thing, like, I know for a fact I had said in early episodes, like, I have found like this, like, almost compassion for Tom because he was a product of the system. And yes, in a way, I believe that. But also now my viewpoint is I was a product of the system and I rose above that system. And I did better, and I do my best to, try to apologize to those I've hurt and, be a better person. And, there's some people who were products of the system just like we were, and they're still out there being assholes. And, and so I no longer have compassion for that. And I think some of that was still that, like, it's hard to erase those tapes in your head. Anytime I have one of those thoughts of like, oh my gosh, he still just doesn't get it. And he's still hurting people and he's still saying these things to people. And I hear Charlotte's voice like, well, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with one another. Are you doing everything in your power to live at peace? And so I no longer subscribe to that, like, I feel sorry for you because, like, Tom had a rough childhood. Tom had, some cards stacked against him. But I feel like in our episodes that we did in the very beginning, we proved that we did also. And so you can take what's been given to you and you can rise above and become better, or you can use that as an excuse to treat people like shit. And
well, and I feel like I think we let Tom off the hook a lot because he bought a like how to do church kit, and so it's very easy to blame the people that wrote the how to do church kit and be like, well, I mean, this is how we're generating churches now. But unfortunately, it's the things that you chose to do within that system. Like, not everybody that bought that kit turned their church into a cult, right? And did this, and Tom is not the only person either. I mean, obviously, we've talked about other podcasts and documentaries and a lot of different churches and different denominations of churches that this type of behavior and people with these tendencies get into leadership positions, and how easy it is to be indoctrinated. and
Yeah.
and like that's probably the biggest shocker for me getting to this point is number one, at some point I had to stop and just realize how disgusting, the things that were done at Come As You Are from leadership, how awful these things were, and that they were done intentionally and with malicious intent, because you didn't choose to be like somebody who's going to choose to be a better human being wouldn't have chosen to do those things. Because I even think of the things that you and I did, and there's definitely things that we didn't do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes to like spewing Kool-Aid, we did that, but there's things that like we would never do, and we are not the type of people at our core to do those things. Like we have different values and better systems, and so for somebody to be confronted over and over and over again and know, like this is what you're doing. There's no excuse. So yeah, I think there's part of me that is like, either I don't know how to go there and admit that these things were truly as horrible as they were, like there's something about that. I might have to go to therapy for that. But also like just how, like, I don't look at any situation, like you watch some cult documentaries today because they're coming out left and right, and you're like, well, how did people, I used to say that a lot, like, how did you not see it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't say that anymore because I'm like, no,
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy. The slope is slippery, and it is so easy to fall into these things and be completely brainwashed. And the second you think it will never happen to me, and how stupid do you have to be to fall for something like that? When you look at the amount of people that are involved in organizations like this, like it's not that difficult. Sorry, it's just not.
Yeah.
And we want so much as humanity to like believe in something, belong to something, but we stopped at some point, stopping and thinking through the things that we're choosing to be a part of and say yes to, and we're just blindly just following people who say they just say,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm an expert. What makes you like who? You're nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely I'm definitely in a very different place going into this last chapter than I was when we started this. And that's a little scary. I'm not going to lie. For good, for worse, I don't know. Definitely better off. And I'm definitely like eyes wide open more of like, I was the type of person when we started this to be like, have that confidence in all things, and the confidence in myself to know that I would make the right decision, or that I would believe in what I was going to believe in, and it would all be okay. And now I'm the type of person that I have confidence in the things that I've chosen to believe in, and I don't know what else there is that's going to come my way, but I'll let you know when I get there. I'm not so
Yeah.
confident to be like put it all into one package and say, I just
Yeah.
believe in all this and I don't even know what's in the box. No.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to pick it apart, and I will make my decision based on what comes my way. At least I know that at this point.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. You don't have to have it all figured out.
No.
You can just know what you could know what you know. You could believe what you believe right now. And I think that right there is like, that is the basis of why we have the issues in faith, and Christianity has such a bad name that it does in this country right now, because of that mindset right there. Like, we were so quick to throw I'm this, and I'm willing to stand on this, and I'm not willing to listen to any new information or take in anything new, or, consider another perspective. This is what I believe, period, end of story. I don't want to hear it from you.
Yeah.
Don't shove your stuff down my throat.
Yeah.
But yet we were so confident that we were right, we were shoving it down other people's throats, And
Yeah.
so going into this last chapter, this is everything. culminating. We've said before, like, there's things that we have mentioned and been like, you might think that's kind of weird. Why are you talking about that? Oh, just remember that. Just remember we said this. Put that little fact in your pocket and just remember that. All of those little things are going to start just kind of like flowing together in this final chapter. And to end this little mini-sode that it's going to be longer than our other mini-sodes, but that's okay because it's the last one. So without giving any spoilers into our story, if you were to look at all of the episodes that we have planned out and how we're going to end our time at Come As You Are in our podcast, what do you think is maybe an episode or a thread in our timeline or something that you're really, I don't want to say excited, but like you're like, ooh, this is going to be a good one.
Going to be good coming up.
Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, like, I know you gave me a little prep time, like right before we started recording this, and you're like, I'm going to ask this. Usually, sometimes we don't do that. Sometimes we just ask questions raw. So maybe you don't know that as a listener, but like, so I think I probably do that to you more than you ever did. Like, I'm just going to ask this question, and I want your live and raw response. You at least were kind enough to give me a little prep time, but my first initial response to you was, I was like, all of it, I can't think of one particular thing, but that was my like off the cuff answer. But while I've sat here and thought about it, I mean, it really is my answer of like, not just to say everything, but this is it, right? Like for me, so I think part of it is relief. One, there's like a little bit of like trying to keep track of what I can and can't say and what happened where, and like that didn't, and don't go too far into the story in this episode, right? Like, because we're not there yet. Like, because we would get on topics and I just want to tell you the whole story and wrap it up in a pretty bow and be like, and prove my point right there, and I want the listener to be like, yes, and I get the whole thing, And so for me, it's been that's probably been the most challenging part is this being such a long project and in so many pieces and having to hold so tight to, we are only talking about the month of June.
Yeah.
19. That didn't happen for 2 years, so keep it into 2019. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that has been the most challenging part for me. And I've had to tell myself, no, like this is, and I think that's why I call it a project, is because seeing it as like, this is a labor of love. This is a project. Yeah. This is like writing a book or putting out a movie, or, we have put this story together and we've crafted it in such a way and we've held to the storyline. And it is like, the one thing I hate about TV is I can't just watch an episode a week and then have to wait like a week for the next episode. Like, this is killing me. It goes against every fiber in my being. So to finally be at the point where this is it, whatever gets said in this last chapter, this is not necessarily, it's no holds barred. This is it. Like if we're talking about something and I forgot about it when we recorded to wrap up because we're wrapping up so many loose ends. And if we've kind of alluded to it before, now's the time where if it doesn't get said, it's not in this project. And I don't have to worry about it. When did it happen? Like, I could tie it all into one great little, so that's what I'm excited for. Like the entire chapter, and just tying up all those pieces and all those loose ends and finally just bringing it to that moment of like, this is why.
Yeah.
Because we've told a lot of stuff. We've talked about a lot of stuff, but I think it's here in this last chapter that we will finally be like, this is why.
Yeah.
This is why we did this. This is why we started this. This is why we left. This is why we are who we are today. This is why we felt so compelled to put this out there for other people. And this is why we have a hope that this helps somebody get out of a situation like we were in, because this is it. We're wrapping it up.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think what I am most looking forward to, because we've shared our story with people in person, like live in real life, and we haven't sat down and shared at the depths and at the rawness that we have shared here on this podcast. But I think about the people that I have been most open with, and their reaction when you get to like these parts of the story that we're going to tell, like, us leaving and confronting people, and the last time we have to have a meeting with people, and your divorce, like, and I think of, like, when you tell those stories in person and the looks on people's faces, like, I hope we get a fraction of that with our listeners. I think that's what I'm most excited for, is that, like, I know we have listeners that are invested in our story. And so I hope that we have worked very hard to do the story justice, because I think, this is just such, like you said, it's been a labor of love. And so to kind of wrap that up, this gift that we're hoping that we put out there to the world, is what we said in the very beginning of, we want people to know you're not alone. If we talk about anything in this podcast and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel that way, or, I thought I was the only one, want
you're not crazy.
Yeah, you're not crazy. You're not alone.
You're get out.
Yeah.
And life will be good on the other side.
Yeah, it gets better. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard as hell, but it gets better.
Yeah.
And so, that's ultimately the gift we want to give people, because we kind of had to be that for each other.
Yeah.
And, we didn't really have anyone there outside of each other to lean on. And so, we want to be that for other people. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most with this. But
nice. Well, then let's get to it.
Yeah.